podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. The show originally aired on the Premier Network, coast to coast, on Saturday, March 6th, 2021. This is episode 1776. Enjoy. This episode of the Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by the Enterprise Tech 30. The Enterprise Tech 30 is a definitive list of the 30 most promising B2B startups, as determined by over 100 venture capitalists and 20 corporate development teams. Visit enterprisetech30.com to see 2021's winners. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. I am the tech guy, your tech guy. There may be other tech guys, but I'm your tech guy. This is the show where we talk tech. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number if you want to talk tech with me. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Outside that area, well, you could still reach me, but you're going to have to use some sort of mechanism. Skype works, and it shouldn't cost you anything. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Website where we put all the answers to all the questions. Not until you ask them. We haven't gotten good enough. We could just put them there, and wouldn't that be nice? But then I wouldn't have a job. So we'll put the answers after you ask the questions up at the website, techguylabs.com. techguylabs.com. Okay, and that's free. There's no sign up. Nothing to do. You just wander in and there's a search and each episode will be there. This is episode 1776. Is that right? It's our Independence Day podcast, 1776, 1776. So you can go right to that one. It's subdivided into hours, each hour subdivided into segments, etc., etc., etc. Ooh, this week, it's time for news. This week, Microsoft announced on Tuesday, we found 4 0 days in our email servers, Microsoft Exchange. What is a 0 day? You hear this from time to time. We're talking about exploits or flaws. Security problems in a program or operating system are called exploits because they can be exploited by bad guys or girls. I guess there's bad guys and bad girls. I don't know, bad people. Let's put it that way. Bad humans. So far, it's mostly humans. Could be aliens. Sometimes you don't know. We don't know. Could be Martians. Don't think so. But anyway, could be. These exploits usually are discovered and patched or fixed. Patch is a way to fix them. I'm giving you a lot of terms here, trying to explain them as I go. So patched means a fix. Usually they're patched before they become public. That's kind of the way it's supposed to work. Security researchers are banging on software. Companies are banging on software. Usually it's not the companies that find it, ironically. A lot of times it's just an independent third party, but they're good guys. They sometimes call them white hat hackers, and the good human, the good people, the good entities are generally going to tell the company and give them at least 90 days, 3 months to fix it before they disclose it to the world. There is a good reason to disclose it to the world, especially if companies refuse to fix it or ignore them, because the longer an exploit lives, the bigger the chance some other bad entity will find it and take advantage of it, exploit the exploit. So you kind of want to make it public eventually so that everybody's aware of it and can do what they need to do to fix it, especially if the company doesn't fix it. Usually companies do. So this is the traditional 90-day disclosure period where a security firm will tell a company and fix it. Now, in a case of a 0 day, and that was what happened here, a 0 day means there were 0 days between finding the problem and finding somebody taking advantage of it. A 0-day is the worst kind of security flaw because it's generally discovered because somebody is using it. In this case, 4 newly discovered flaws in Microsoft's Exchange server, which is their email software used mostly by big companies, had been used by a unusually aggressive Chinese cyber espionage unit. Unusually aggressive because they really went crazy. These were flaws in Exchange server from going back to 2013 all the way up to 2019. Microsoft released emergency security patches on Tuesday to plug those holes. In the 3 days since, security experts say that this unusually aggressive Chinese cyber espionage group has stepped up operations because it takes a while sometimes before people apply the fixes. Remember, I always tell you, do the patch, don't delay. This is why. Because once it's announced, once it's found, now the clock is ticking. These bad guys have only a limited amount of time to take advantage of it, so they stepped up attacks. What they did essentially is they put a server on the server, a double server, that would allow them to attack this other server through the internet from a browser with administrative access. So essentially what happens if you're running Exchange server, as many companies and government agencies are, the hackers could log in over the web, have full access, download the email, see who's talking to who and all of that. Now we're learning that at least 30,000 U.S. organizations, including a significant number of small businesses, towns, cities, and local governments, among whom Exchange server is very popular, have been hacked. None are vulnerable. It's a larger number than that. 30,000 have been hacked. I'm quoting Brian Krebs, who is a great security expert, used to be at Washington Post. He now does a blog called Krebs on Security. He quotes 2 cybersecurity experts who have briefed U.S. national security advisors on the attack. They told Krebs the Chinese hacking group thought to be responsible has seized control over hundreds of thousands of Exchange servers worldwide. Each victim, remember, it's not an individual. These are servers, which means each victim representing an organization with hundreds or thousands of users. So millions of people may be affected by this. Good news, if you're using Gmail, for most people, your email company's not using Exchange server. If you're using your internet service provider, it's very rare. It's mostly used by businesses and governments. It's used by big organizations. The Chinese hacking crew is called Hafnium. I don't know why. Hafnium. But they've been targeting these attacks on infectious disease researchers. Why? They're looking for vaccines, right? Law firms, maybe looking for, deep, dark secrets, higher education institutions, defense contractors, policy think tanks, and non-governmental organizations. 30,000 have been hacked, at least, and hundreds of thousands affected. Microsoft says it's working closely with CISA, the U.S. Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. This is like the SolarWinds attack, only I would argue even worse. SolarWinds was a Russian attack. Microsoft said the best protection, what do you think? What do you guess? Is to apply updates as soon as possible across all impacted systems. If you're running Exchange server 2013 through 2019. Assume you have been compromised, according to Chris Krebs. No relation to Brian Krebs. Chris Krebs, a former director of CISA. Check for 8-character ASPX files in inetpub www root ASP.NET _client system _web. If you get a hit, you're now in incident response mode. In other words, you've been hacked. It's fairly easy to find this information. But I'll post a link to the tweet in the show notes so that you can see that for yourself. If you're running Exchange Server and you're a sysadmin, oh boy. What do they do? Well, they're looking. It's espionage. Could be industrial espionage in some cases. Could be national espionage in some cases. Police departments have been hacked. Credit unions, hospitals, city and state governments. If you're running self-hosted Outlook web access, you probably got hit. Wow. It just keeps happening, doesn't it? All right. I hate to start with something like that. I should start with something happy, shouldn't I? Sometimes, though, the news is so important that we just need to get the word out there. Wait a minute. Hold on. Slow down. I like the first two lines.
Here's a quarter. Call someone who cares.
Call someone who cares and tell them about your assorted bears. Yep.
Assorted bears?
Assorted bears. Do you have any? No bears?
No. I think it was sorted affairs. But
Hello, I'm trying to make it okay. Hello, Kim Schnaffer. We have a different theme song for you every day.
Yeah.
And, I have to say, congratulations to Professor Laura, our musical director. Because
she's finding them.
I thought she'd run out.
There's a lot of songs about phone calls. Yeah. But that Travis Tritt, that's probably the last concert I saw before we got locked down.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Sonoma State University.
You recognize
with Charlie
that.
Daniels Band, of all things.
Oh,
right
wow.
before he died,
That's
too.
a good concert.
It was a good concert. It was outdoors. It was in August, and it was lovely.
So call someone who cares. That's you, Kim Schaffer, the phone angel. Here's a quarter. No, you don't. You
don't need it. There's no payphone.
You don't need a quarter.
Even at those gas stations that won't exist in Petaluma anymore. So on the way here, one of the questions on Wait, Don't Tell Me was about Petaluma, California.
Yeah. What town in the United States was the first to ban new gas station construction? Yeah. We're very proud that it happened here in Petamula.
So progressive. I also learned that Women's History Month, or whatever it is right now, Women's History Appreciation Month, started in Sonoma County.
No,
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So
I think
Sonoma County is getting some big props this week.
What is Women's Day? It's soon, right?
Well, yeah, there used to be a day, and then there was only a week. And
we have to give you a month. I think that's fair. Monday is International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Laura. She knows.
She's got all those days in front of her. Yeah. She's got the whole list for the year of what day is what.
Honestly, as a guy even, I say this. I think it's time for women to be in charge.
I've been saying that for a long time.
I think it's pretty clear. We aren't so good at it. It's all yours. Who should I talk to first?
Okay, let's talk to Nathan, who's actually Nathan and not Mason, which I called him last time.
I remember that. In Cleveland, Ontario.
No, I think Ohio.
We'll get it right eventually. Thank you, Kim. Hello, Nathan. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call again.
Oh, it's that Nathan. My friend Nathan. How are you, my friend?
I'm pretty well.
How's school going? Is it frustrating for you? Are you going in yet, or are you still doing it at home?
No, I'm remote, so...
Is that hard for you?
No, it's pretty easy.
You prefer it? I
don't know. Right now, I prefer it.
Yeah.
Right now, I prefer it.
Yeah. My stepson is 18. He's a senior in high school. And they're going to get to go back in a very limited way in about a month. And he says, what's the point? I'm graduating in 2 months. I don't care. He's happy. But he, like you, he loves technology, loves computers. He's perfectly happy to stay at home with his computer, right? How much, Nathan, how much, given now that you're doing school online, how much screen time do you think you get a day? I mean, it's a lot, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So most of the time that I'm watching a screen, I'm doing like coding or something like that.
Good. Doing your coding. Wow. Does the teacher know that what do you code in, Python?
I know Python, but I'm currently learning JavaScript.
Wow. I think we talked about that last time. That's a good language if you want to get a job, is to learn the web technologies, JavaScript, a framework, HTML, servers, all of that stuff is really useful, CSS. So what can I do for you, Nathan?
So last time I called in, I asked if I should get Linux, and you said I should, so...
Did you?
It took a long time. A lot of stuff went wrong. And finally, it worked. So we have a dual boot with Linux, Windows, Manjaro, GNOME.
Oh, that's the best. That's the one to use, I think. Good for you. Wow. And so there were some pitfalls along the way, but do you feel like you learned things as you went through the problems and solved them? I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of the process is struggle. And then the next thing, struggle. Like it's like learning any language. If you're learning French, struggle. So Linux is kind of struggle. You feel pretty comfortable with it now?
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with it. The stuff that I'm currently doing is not so different than Windows.
Yeah.
Command prompt commands are different.
Yeah. But
So,
you can use VS Code, the Microsoft's Visual Studio Code, both on Windows and on Linux, and that's a good JavaScript platform and things like that. So you're going to be comfortable with all of that. By the way, you might want to take a look at Microsoft's TypeScript. It's a safer kind of Java that I think is really excellent. Just to throw something out. So, but I see you are having some trouble.
Yes. So
What's the problem?
We installed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once we got Linux, our computer's internet was slower. And so we thought, okay, is that just like the room that we're in? So we tested our other devices. We tested our iPad, a Mac computer in there, and an Android phone. And all of them were getting like 200 down.
Yeah.
And the computer's getting like 30 to 30.
So when it's running Windows, is it getting 200?
No, they're both operating systems.
So if both operating systems are doing it, you can't really blame Linux. You have to blame the computer. If Windows got full speed and Linux didn't, then you might want to look at the driver. A lot of times with Linux, you're using community developed drivers instead of the company's driver, and that can be an issue.
Linux is getting like slightly faster.
Yeah.
Than Windows.
So it sounds like you got a hardware issue, not a software issue, right? Because two different operating systems, same result. That means it's not the software, right? It's the hardware. Mm-hmm. Was it operating faster before you installed Linux?
Yes, it was operating like 200, 100.
Yeah, I don't think that's related, though. Unless Linux put your internet interface in some sort of weird mode. Hang on, we'll talk a little bit more. Scott Wilkinson coming up. So that's, I mean, you might be inclined to say, oh, Linux broke my computer. But I don't think so, unless it put the card in some sort of weird mode. I would boot into Windows and go to the device manager and make sure that you're using the proper device driver. It's probably from Intel. Do you know what kind of Wi-Fi you have in your computer?
No, I do not know.
Yeah. So the device manager will tell you what the hardware is. Actually, Linux would do that too. You could, there's a Linux command you could do to tell you what Ethernet hardware you're using. And so that might be, either way, you could do it in Windows with Device Manager. In Linux, it's a command is it LSH? Let's see. LSHW lists all hardware. And then you can look at IP config, although I think that's deprecated, yeah. So do LSHW will show all the hardware. We'll show you the names of all the devices, and then we'll show you which Ethernet you have. You can also do that. Is it a desktop or a laptop?
It is a desktop computer.
Okay. You can also do LSPCI because most of the time the Ethernet cards are on the PCI bus. Either way, you're going to look through that listing and look at your Ethernet controller or your network controller and see who makes the chip and who makes the hardware. That's useful. You might want to check for a more up-to-date driver on Linux for that. Then you can also, so that's LSHW or list hardware. You know, like LS lists drives. LS and then a bunch of other letters can list other things. So LS lists the files, right?
Yeah.
LSBLK will list block devices like attached hard drives or USB keys. And LSHW will show all the hardware installed. So it's a very useful command to know. Or you can go to the device manager in Windows. I would actually boot into Windows, look at the device manager, and make sure that there aren't any weird settings in the device driver.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm wondering if it is maybe that something that Linux did changed your settings, although it seems unlikely. Because both Windows, it may also just be that for something went wrong with that hardware. Seems odd. Mm-hmm. Oh, and Retcon is reminding me you might need to do sudo ahead of LSHW because you might have to be operating as administrator. You know about sudo or sudo? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll try sudo, and then I may need to go into root with SU.
Oh, yeah. Don't do it as root. Stay out of root. Not SU, just sudo, okay? That's my tip of the week. Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like it's a coincidence, to be honest. You know, it doesn't seem like Linux would break your Ethernet or your network interface, but when you installed Linux, something went wrong. That's interesting. Yeah. The other thing you could do in Windows is remove the device driver in Windows and let Windows plug and play it. And then with any luck, it will set it up again and it'll be faster. If you can get it faster in Windows, then you know it's something Linux is doing. If you can't get it faster in Windows, then maybe there's a hardware issue. Good news is it's very inexpensive to get a cheap USB network interface. I got to run, Nathan. It's nice to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Keep up the good work. You're doing great. Show today brought to you by a brand new sponsor. Really thrilled to have Wing Venture Capital and the Enterprise Tech 30. This is something actually new to me, so I was really glad to find out about this. The Enterprise Tech 30 is a piece of seminal research created by Wing Venture Capital. They did it in conjunction with NASDAQ. The private enterprise tech, as you might not know, is an opaque sector. You'd have no idea because they're privately held which company's doing well, which company's not doing so well. Sometimes companies are very cagey around growth and revenue. Sales cycles can be unpredictable. They can be long. They can be short. They can be arduous. Certainly, there are ranked lists that feature startups or tech disruptors, but these lists are, dominated by consumer brands everybody knows about, or mature B2B startups, that are widely known. The list does create credibility and trust that a company is going to deliver a real tangible outcome, but the way this list is produced, it's unpredictable. There's lobbying. It's editorially decided. There's even pay to play. I hate to say it. There's certainly some bias, all based on how much hype a company can generate. That's not the Enterprise Tech 30. The Enterprise Tech 30 is done with a proper methodology, brings to light enterprise startups that have the most potential to tectonically shift how enterprises operate for the better. Awardees of the ET30 are on a fast track of growth, ready to change how business is done, and they're expected to be, at some point, future IPOs and multi-billion-dollar exits. These are companies you want to know about, and you cannot lobby your way onto the ET30. You have to be selected to become part of this elite community. The Enterprise Tech 30 focuses on companies with potential at all stages of maturity rather than only showcasing companies that are mature and have obvious, undeniable traction. You'll often be hearing about something that is brand new and changing the world soon. It should be considered a buying guide for enterprise executives looking to bring more validated and credible digital innovation into their organizations. If you're an enterprise tech founder, you should see inclusion as the highest endorsement of your current and future success. Founders that aspire to build publicly traded companies should see inclusion in the ET30 as a watershed moment in their journey. Tech executives and high-performance operators will use the list to help guide the decisions on what companies to join. Good news, the 2021 edition of Enterprise Tech 30, brought to you by Wing Venture Capital and NASDAQ, just came out. Head over to enterprisetech30.com to see who's on this year's list. I'm on my way. enterprisetech30.com. We thank the ET30, Wing, and NASDAQ for their support. Brand new advertisers. Great to have you. enterprisetech30.com. What is hip? Well, I'll tell you, this cat will tell you right here. He is our home theater geek, Scott Wilkinson, contributor at techhive.com, and tells us all about big screen TVs, surround sound, all that stuff. Hello, Scott.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
It's going great. It's going great. How's the world of high-fidelity audio and video for you?
Oh, it's very good. Thank you very much.
Anything new to report?
Well, actually, I've got a listener question here I wanted to talk about. A listener by the name of Stuart Taub is buying a new house, and he wants to set up a new home theater. He's got a pretty healthy budget.
What's healthy to you for a home theater?
Well,
$5,000?
He's saying $7,000 to $8,000.
That's a lot. Yeah.
So that's not bad.
Yeah. I mean,
now
that includes a TV, but also the sound.
Well, correct. Now, in his email, I'm not 100% sure that does include the TV. He says, for sure, unless you say no, for a TV, the LG 77-inch CX series OLED.
Oh, baby.
Which I say yes.
That's what, $3,000 or $4,000 right there.
$3,000 right there.
Yeah. But that still leaves him a lot of money for a nice audio system.
It does.
Would say.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. Now, he's looking at he gave me several options that he was thinking about for speakers, starting with the B&W 704S2 towers.
Holy
which
cow.
are really good.
Yes.
Really good. But you're talking $3,000 for a pair of those.
Bowers and Wilkins is a British company that many consider make the best speakers out there.
Certainly among the best.
It's a very subjective thing. I mean, everybody's got their favorite.
Yeah, but I looked at a couple of reviews of this particular model, the 704S2, and they're very highly regarded by professional reviewers.
Yeah, but I think he just blew the rest of his budget just for the left and right.
Well, he's now at $6,000. Yeah. And he didn't mention anything about a center channel, and I want to make sure
a center or a sub or surrounds or anything. It's $3,000 just for a pair of these speakers. Although they look beautiful, don't they?
They look beautiful. Yeah. They're kind of thin and slender, but they really perform very well.
Don't they use diamond tweeters on these?
I don't think the 7 series does. The 800 series
pay more for the diamond tweeters.
Okay. Yes, exactly. So yes, he's pretty close to blowing his budget, assuming that the TV is in that $7,000 to $8,000.
Right.
That was not 100% clear in this email, but if we assume that it was, then yeah, he's up at $6,000 now. But he didn't mention anything about a center channel, and I want to make sure everybody understands that a center channel is really, really important for movies, because that's where most of the dialogue is in the center channel. So you need a center channel speaker. First of all, you need a center channel speaker. Second of all, it needs to tonally match the front, right, and left. Because if it doesn't, if you buy it from a different manufacturer, say to save some money, then as a person walks from left to right across the screen and they're talking,
it's going to sound different.
It's going to sound different. It's going to go, well, here we go. And now we're talking about Earth, and now we're talking about this, and now we're back to here again. And so
now you got to. Now the good news is, Bowers and Wilkins makes center channel speakers.
They do, and in fact, the HTM 72S2 comes from the same series,
which you probably want, right?
You absolutely want, no question about it. You absolutely want that. That's another $1,000.
You know what's nice about being old? There are many good things, some bad things about being old, but the nicest thing about being old is I know my hearing isn't as acute as it was when I was a young man, so I don't need to get diamond tweeters. I bought a much less expensive, but I think you agree, and very good quality speakers from ELAC. Andrew Jones' company. And, you know, they're tenths of the cost of these, I think.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, this fellow Stewart mentioned for his surrounds, he wants in-ceiling surrounds. So I assume he's got like an open floor plan, and he can't really put...
He doesn't want wires.
He doesn't want wires, and he doesn't want speakers kind of where they really should be for the surrounds at the same ear level as the fronts. Yeah. Okay. So, and he mentioned the ELACs, the IC in-ceiling D61, and those are $460 a pair. See, if you were to go with B&W in-ceilings, they'd be $1,500 a pair.
So that's the question: is B&W sound 3 times better? No. I mean, as the price goes, you know, up, you get an incremental, smaller and smaller improvements, right?
Correct.
So really, what you would like to find is what's the sweet spot between price and performance.
Exactly what I always say. As you start spending more money, you get an increase in quality, generally speaking, but at some point, that curve, that price to performance curve, starts leveling off. Yeah. So where is the point where it starts leveling off? What we call the knee of the curve, and that's where you want to be. And B&W is probably a little bit farther along that curve. I mean, it sounds fantastic. I bet they do.
I bet they do.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about a subwoofer yet. So
the good news on a subwoofer, you can get a cheaper subwoofer, right? You don't have to match the subwoofer.
That's correct.
Because it's just doing the.
Well, but you want it to do that well, and subwoofers can do that very poorly. They can be very indistinct and just kind of fluffy, as you are imitating right there.
Oh, is that fluffy? You think that's I'm a fluffy subwoofer? Well,
you're a fluffy subwoofer. Okay. I'm sorry to say. You want the subwoofer to sound tight. You want the frequencies to be well defined, and so you can hear them as what they're supposed to be, instead of kind of bloaty. So you want to do a little research on that. He was suggesting the KEF KC62.
Those are classics. Yeah.
Oh, well, they're not classics. It's brand new, actually.
But KEF is a classic.
KEF is a classic, no question. Yeah. They've been around 90 years or something. Yeah. But their new subwoofer, uses a new technology which allows a 10-inch subwoofer, a tiny little subwoofer, to go well below 20 hertz, the lowest we can hear. And it's wonderful, but it's also $1,500.
Would it be worth looking at KEF across the board? Just do a whole.
Yeah. Although they're relatively expensive too.
Yeah,
generally
they're not as bad as B&W, I don't think.
Well,
maybe they
not
are.
As expensive, shall we say?
Yeah.
I would look at ELAC all around. The most important.
I'm so happy with my ELACs. I have ELACs. I have a 5-1 all ELAC system in the living room, and it's a open space. It fills the room. It sounds wonderful.
Yes, exactly. The other company I would look at is SVS.
Don't know them.
Now, they specialize in subwoofers, and they make fantastic subwoofers, but they also make full-range speakers, towers and bookshelves, and they really do a fantastic job as well. And they're very value-oriented. Maybe not quite as much as ELAC, but close.
Here's the hard thing. You can't really listen to them these days before you buy.
Yeah,
you never really could. I mean, you go to, you might find a Magnolia or some other high-end audio store. And
you still might find a Magnolia within Best Buy.
Yeah, and I guess you can listen to some of these.
But it's not in your room.
Yeah, and they won't have all of them. And
That's correct. That's correct. So what I recommend in that case is go to reliable review sources. Sound and Vision,
Even
Tech
then,
Hive.
It's so subjective.
It is. But professional reviewers know what they're talking about
true.
And know what to listen for.
Spoken as a professional reviewer, Scott.
Yes.
What do you have and what do you like?
Well, I've got an older set of PSB speakers, and that's also an excellent brand.
They're
the problem. Up in Canada.
You see the problem here, folks. I think I overbought when I bought the ELACs. They sound good, but
They
I
sound
don't.
great.
They don't, yeah, but they don't. I don't. They just sound good. Scott Wilkinson, techhive.com. That's where he writes. You catch him every week right here. He's our home theater geek. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm super happy. I foolishly just replaced all the speakers in the house except for the smart speakers with ELACs.
Yeah.
So so the TV in my office has B2, has a little bit lower end ELACs. They sound fine. And a third-party subwoofer. They sound great. And really, it's for listening to music mostly. I don't watch a lot of TV in there, but it sounds beautiful.
Yeah.
We have a pair of the little bit better ELACs in the bedroom with the TV there. That's the 4K. That sounds wonderful. And then I have a surround system in the living room with the big towers and all that. And
oh, man. Well, Andrew Jones is the speaker designer
I know.
there.
I bought him because of you.
He is so good.
Yeah.
He knows how to balance budget with performance and what to spend his money on to hit a given price point. So I'm not at all surprised they sound fantastic. I mean, they're great.
I'm sure they sound fantastic. I don't know if they sound fantastic. They sound really good. They sound lovely. Good enough that I enjoy listening to them. Like it's a great experience sitting there and just listening to the stereo.
Sure,
it's nice.
sure. Now, would it be better with a set of B&Ws?
Don't you go there. Don't you go there. Would it be? I always remember I was always wanted B&Ws, and I just never
wanted to spend that much money.
Never wanted to spend that much money. And because I think it'd be wasted.
Lot of money.
And I think it'd be wasted on me is what I think.
Well, if as all of us suffer at one point or another as we age, hearing degrades to some degree, then it becomes even more of a question.
Yeah.
I think your point that you made when we were on the air is perfect, is you want to find that knee frequency, that knee point in the curve, the price performance curve. I think ELAC is close to it, to tell you the truth. Yes, you'll get a better quality out of a B&W or something like that, but you're going to, again, spend 3 times as much. I always liken it to particle physics. It takes a certain amount of energy to accelerate a particle to half the speed of light, and then it takes 10 times more energy to accelerate it 10% faster. I mean, there's a point of diminishing returns here.
A point of diminishing returns. Scotty.
Aye.
Will you stick around for the top of the hour, laddie?
Aye, happy to.
All right. You got a minute now if you want to just kind of have some fun.
Sure.
All right.
Sure. Beatmaster says you can never go wrong with B&W. Well, that's true. The other really high-end brand that I just love to death but could never afford is Revel, Revel.
I was just saying, I heard they have Revels. I misspelled it, but they have Revels at on the sound. You and I heard them on the soundstage.
Soundstage at
Lucas
Skywalker.
Ranch, at Skywalker Ranch, and we were lucky because we could go into this and sit with the symphony.
Yes,
108, something like that.
You remember that? I remember that trip.
Never
very well.
forget it.
Yeah,
and then you go in the recording studio where it's sealed off, and all they have is the Revel speakers. And it's just as good.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, it's like everything sounded so fantastic.
So fantastic. But, how much money does Skywalker have to pay?
And by the way, when I visited Dolby in San Francisco, they also had Revel speakers there. I would guess that Revels are kind of...
probably the epitome.
I mean,
yes.
if George has them, he can afford anything. All right, stick around. Stick around. Thank you. Now, there's nothing like some Chicago horns coming out of your big Bowers and Wilkins diamond tweeters. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Somebody in the chat room said, I can't afford the diamond speakers. Can I get Diamonique instead? Yeah, that probably sound just as good. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. Natasha, Long Beach, California. Welcome, Natasha.
Hi, Leo. Good morning.
Good morning.
My question is, the scanning feature on my printer is not so good. It comes out a bit light and a little smaller than the original. So I was wondering, is it better to buy a standalone scanner or a new printer altogether, which I wouldn't mind doing?
So you can fix the little bit smaller thing. That's just the scaling. Okay. That's done in software. And if you look at so what you're saying, you scan and then you print?
Yes.
And you want it to look as close to the original as possible?
Oh, yes.
Yes, of course you do. Why wouldn't you? So the size you can fix. That's just a setting in the print driver, and you can say print it a little bit bigger, 101% or 102%. You'll have to mess with that. Normally, it'll do it 100%, and that sounds like it's shrinking a little bit, probably because it's trying to make sure it gets on the page, it fits on the page. But if you can make it bigger in the print driver. Now, the little bit lighter, that's really because there's different printing technologies. The printed page that you're scanning is printed with a much higher quality printer, a commercial grade, probably offset printer, if not better, that is not working the same way as your inkjet printer at home is, or even a laser printer at home. A laser might give you a little bit crisper, blacker blacks. That's true. Inkjets tend to be not quite as black. Is yours is it HP laser?
Yes, it's a laser jet.
Okay. So if you're using a laser and you're say it's still a little bit lighter, I don't think there's a printer that's going to fix that. You're probably getting as good a copy as you can.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, is it a lot? I mean, how much lighter is it? It's hard to describe, I know, on the phone.
Not so light that I want to tear it up.
But noticeably lighter. You might try a different paper as well. Sometimes having a higher quality paper to print on. Remember, the way lasers work is different from the way inkjets work. Inkjets are spraying ink onto a page, and the page absorbs a certain amount of that ink. Lasers are more like Xerox copiers. In fact, you're kind of doing a copier, basically. And the laser uses a toner cartridge. It electrostatically charges the paper, then shakes ink toner over it. It only sticks to the charged part. Actually, not the paper, the drum. It only sticks to the charged part of the drum. The drum lays it on the paper, and then a heater fuses it. And all of that technology, HP makes very good laser printers. All of that technology should give you a nice dark look. You may be choosing a whiter paper or a higher quality paper, maybe a higher thicker paper maybe would help. I would try some different papers. If you're just using copier paper, it might not be as good. And you can change in the printing settings, as I said, the scale. And somebody in the chat room is reminding me, you can also change the intensity of the scan. So you might play with the settings.
Okay. Now, after I do all of that, I was kind of hoping you were going to say it's time for a new printer.
I don't want to discourage you from spending money, for sure. A lot of times people call me just for permission, and I give you permission. HP does make really excellent laser printers, however. I don't know, you could get a higher-end HP.
What about another manufacturer? Because I find HP's tech support...
Oh, I know.
Not so good.
I know. I have a brother at home, but I have a brother because it's cheap. So, although I'm looking at PC Magazine's ratings, the best laser printers for 2021. Now, their definition of best might differ from yours, but they give Brother and Canon and HP their Editor's Choice Awards. So those are the big three. At work, we have a nice work laser printer from Kyocera, a Japanese company, that does quite a nice job. So, but I don't know what the tech support is like. So,
okay, well,
Canon you might try Canon. They're known for their photography and their optics. They might do a better job. I honestly don't know if you're going to get a better printout. I just don't want to set expectations too high on that.
Well, that's okay. Don't worry.
Okay.
I am ready for a new printer, so I think I'll do it.
Canon made the very first laser printers for Apple, the Laser Writer. And so they've been doing this longer than anyone else. At first of all, I would look at the PC Magazine reviews for 2021. I'll put a link in the show notes, but you can also just Google Best Laser Printers PC Magazine, and you can at least read about that. And they do say the Canon has excellent image quality, so that might solve the issue there. And it's not horribly expensive. All of these come in around $600.
Okay.
If that's fits your budget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good to know, and thank you again, Leo.
Oh, I appreciate it. I'm glad I could help you spend some money, Natasha.
Yeah, that's exactly what you did. Thank you very much.
I give it my You're very welcome. I give it my seal of approval. A lot of times that's all I'm here for, just to give the seal of approval. But those are some to look at. I would read those reviews. I think in general, because it's not an offset printer, it's not going to be maybe quite as high quality as a book would be, or a well printed document. But trying better high quality bond paper might also make a difference. Maybe something of a heavier quality, maybe some higher rag content might give you a better looking printout. That's possible. Philip's on the line from Nashville, Tennessee. Hello, Philip.
Hello, Leo. This is amazing. I'm really glad to get to talk.
Yay! Woohoo! Glad you got through. What can I do for you?
Well, my wife and I just moved from the Bay Area. We're nurses. We're not tech people, so we didn't come out with all the millions of real estate money that some of them do.
Ay.
Going to build a house from the ground up around the Nashville area. Our builder is going to put Cat 6 in just about every room.
Yay!
And they're also, right? And they're also offering, though, a wireless access point by Ubiquiti. It's Unify APACLR, but it's just one of them in a centralized location. I was going to go with the Eero Pro setup, but I'd never heard of this by Ubiquiti. And I know you've mentioned them before, but I didn't know if you had any, or anybody in the chat room had something to say about this Ubiquiti wireless access point.
It's an interesting question. What's your router going to be?
Whatever. I also am lucky enough to have the choice between AT&T Fiber and Xfinity. I don't know if I'll just
that's nice. You probably want to, if you're going to use a Ubiquiti access point, you're going to want to use a Ubiquiti router. Ubiquiti is prosumer gear, so it's a little higher end than the consumer gear. I actually made the move from Eero to Ubiquiti myself. In fact, I did something like what you're doing, although it was a retrofit. We put Cat 6 everywhere, Ethernet everywhere, because when you're Zooming or when you're working from home, having a hardwired connection is great. But then I put Ubiquiti access points in. Eero's pretty amazing. I have to say, it's going to be cost-wise probably similar, because you got to get the Eero base station. And the nice thing about Eero, you could do this with Ubiquiti, but it's a little more difficult. You can put them throughout the house, and you can add them as you need them.
Right.
The Ubiquiti is nice because it gets its power from the Ethernet wire. So he'll put a wire in the ceiling that will both be data and power. And so you put a little thing on the ceiling. That's a great place to put it. Ours works amazingly well. So I think either would be great. Ubiquiti is going to be more of a managed network with a lot of additional features. Eero, you let them do it. I think it's probably a better choice for consumer, and it's certainly more expandable at a lower price. So I'm going to vote Eero, I think. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. We moved from Eero, and Eero did a good job in our house. But I had 5 beacons. I mean, we had a very elaborate Eero.
Right.
But Ubiquiti's done a much better job. I did a review of our Ubiquitis on our Hands-On Tech show, so you might want to take a look at that. Yeah.
Perfect. I enjoy it. I love everything you guys do. I filled out your survey, and say hi to Jeff, Stacy, and Ann for me.
I will. I'm glad you like Twig. Thank you so much, Philip.
Appreciate your help.
You take care. Bye-bye. Yeah, you're going to want to, if you're going to get a Ubiquiti Wi-Fi, you're going to absolutely want a Ubiquiti controller. They require it, and that means you're going to want to get the UDM, the Dream Machine as a router. So just a little tip. And now we return you to Scott Wilkinson, who has 8 minutes of pleasure for you. By the way,
So
Skype worked fine. Lip sync's not perfect, but not bad.
But not bad.
And Skype seems to handle the bandwidth better. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, why OBS? I actually emailed Chris Marquardt, who's an OBS Ninja guru.
Yeah, he swears by it, and I know you use it for the tuba Christmas.
We used it for tuba Christmas, and it worked great.
Yeah.
And in fact, it worked during the test I did with John an hour before the show last week, and then during the show, it crapped out. So I don't know. One thing is, Chris suggested using, there's actually a standalone app called Electron something.
Yeah, that's the Electron version of OBS Ninja, yeah.
Yeah, so you don't have to use Chrome, which is a bandwidth.
You might try that. Yeah, you might try that.
I will next week. I'll download it and we'll see if it works. But we do have Skype, and it now works. We went to OBS Ninja because Skype wasn't working. And now Skype is working. So the mysteries of technology. Anyway, yes, Ninja Guru's the best, Retcon 5. You guys were talking about HP laser printers. I have one. Actually inherited it from my mom, and works fine for what I need. I don't print high quality photographs or anything like that, but for printing documents, works great. Wipe my machine and start over, Web 1738. Yeah, I suppose I could do that. Mike B says it's working very well. Yes, Tech Dino, it is the uncertainty principle at work. Exactly right. Heisenberg knew what he was talking about. And little did he know it would apply to computer connectivity as well as subatomic particles. Mike Heiss, hey, Mike, good to see you in the chat room as always. Getting back to speakers, wanted to make sure that I was reminded of another company called Golden Ear, which also makes fantastic speakers. They're a little more pricey, certainly more pricey than ELAC. And once again, we get to the question of, how much better is it for more money? And each person must answer that on their own, because each person has a different set of ears. Mike B says, my video is excellent and I am in sync. A little bit out of sync, but according to Leo, but mostly in sync. Lawn Dog was going to suggest SVS. Yes, SVS is a really, really good company. They make excellent products. They started out with subwoofers and they migrated into full range speakers. And they've got tower speakers and they've got bookshelves and stuff. I would definitely look into them. Beatmaster says Klipsch is selling good stuff for little money these days. Yes, I get emails from them almost every day with 50% off sales. So they are being very aggressive with their pricing. Now, Klipsch has a certain sound, a pretty distinctive sound. They are really big on horn-loaded tweeters. So the tweeter is a little driver at the throat of a horn. And horns are very popular. They're used very often in commercial cinema. But they have a certain sound. I find them to be a little on the harsh side. Which is why I don't normally recommend them. That's a personal preference. Some people love Klipsch. I've also reviewed a couple of Klipsch Bluetooth speakers, little portable Bluetooth speakers, some of which are not cheap. And I have not been tremendously impressed with them. I did not give them glowing reviews. Not terrible, but just not as good as I would like, especially for that kind of money. So let's see here. What else have I got? Jim Allen says, what makes the new Sony and LG OLEDs brighter than the previous OLED TVs? Good question. I don't actually know the answer to that. They've just improved the OLED panel to allow a higher electrical current, and a brighter, more output. And I don't think there are any reviews of them yet. So they're claiming, I think the 77-inch is claiming up to 1,000 nits. Typically, OLED is in more like 700 nit range. So, but I want to see a measurement. They can claim anything they want, but I want to see an independent reviewer measuring the peak brightness and see if it really does get to 1,000. That is my thing there. Let's see. Web 1738. What's your router? Could be someone on your network. My router is, well, at my Wi-Fi access point, it's not, well, I guess it is. I mean, I have an Apple Airport Extreme. It's old, I know. But this seems to be working okay. And I do know that there's nobody else on the network at this point. However, I am on cable internet. Fiber is not available in my neighborhood. Grr. So I don't have fiber yet. I would get it. I would absolutely get it, and I will as soon as I can, but I can't yet. So if there's a bunch of people working in, online in the neighborhood, downloading big files or streaming 4K or whatever, that could impact my bandwidth as well. Let's see. Dr. Mom Grandma, did I get a non-NDA peek at Sonos' new portable speaker? No, I haven't yet. But I do need to look at that. A friend of mine is asking me about whole house audio, and certainly Sonos is one of the leaders in that. So I should definitely go check that out. Maverick 56, do I have any plans to review the AirPods Max? I sure would love to. I don't have any contacts at Apple, to tell you the truth, so I can't just go in and, I can go to their PR department, I guess, and ask them for a pair to review. I have not reviewed the Apple Home Pod Mini for TV speakers either. So,
thank you, Scotty.
Here comes the music.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, you too.
All right, see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, Wi-Fi routers. Anything on your mind, let's talk about it. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. I'm here Saturday and Sunday between 2 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So some stations on our network take it live. If you're listening live, you can call in right now. If you're listening to a recording, sometimes they play it later in the day to fit their schedule. Just keep that in mind. Saturday and Sunday, 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern. That's 11 to 2 p.m. West Coast time. And you can call those hours, 8888 Ask Leo. Kim will be here and answer your call. Can't promise she'll be here at any other time. I don't know if I'll be here. Actually, usually I am. Come to think of it, I will be, but she might not be. Jeff is on the line from Pasadena. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Leo, I got a two-part question for you.
Yes, sir.
I have a MediaLink router, an AC1200R, and it works fine, but lately I've noticed if I go to my settings on my iPhone or my iPad, it says it has weak security, and it says configure the router to use WPA2 or WPA3.
How insulting.
So I went and I changed the SSID, I changed the password, and it's still...
So it's the encryption that you're using that matters. The original encryption for Wi-Fi was WEP, Wireless Equivalent Protocol, WEP. Yeah. If you're using that, they're right to warn you.
No, I'm on WPA2.
Then it's somehow just making a mistake, it sounds like.
Do I need WPA3?
Well, you probably... WPA2 was also cracked. WEP was cracked easily, trivially, and is not safe to use. Although any encryption is better than no encryption, because remember, in order to take advantage of this, somebody has to be sitting outside your house. They have to be near enough to get on your Wi-Fi, and then they can take some time and crack it. WPA2 was also cracked with a much more tricky technique that honestly is so hard that somebody really would have to be going after you.
That's not.
Yeah, I mean, and again, they'd have to be, they can't be anywhere in the world. They'd have to be on your curb. They'd have to be within your Wi-Fi area.
Yeah.
So, are you using WPA Personal?
Just WPA 2. But
it doesn't say whether it's personal or enterprise. Yeah. So
it's probably personal, but it says, use WPA 2 in parentheses AES. Well, on the router, it doesn't say anything about AES. It just
might be using TKIP. I don't know if that's an issue.
TK, maybe. So, because it had the WPA/WPA 2. So then I said, okay, well, screw that. I'll just go to WPA 2. But it still says, oh, it's not secure. So do I need a WPA 3 router?
Well, you may not be able to get WPA 3. That's a fairly new routers are starting to include it. But no, you don't unless you're a basketball star or somebody people are going after.
No, nobody
if you play for the Lakers, maybe. But even then,
I wish
they'd have to be within your Wi-Fi range, and and with WPA 2, the attacks take some time, so they'd have to be sitting there for a while. I wouldn't use it in a company, maybe. I wouldn't use it at an open Wi-Fi, at a Wi-Fi access point, maybe. WPA 3 is slowly creeping out. The Media Link may even offer a firmware update. I would check your firmware updates to see.
I did that. The last update was I think it said 2017 or 2018.
Yeah, so
I'm current.
Yeah, you're current. Yeah, so they're not going to update that again is what's going to happen. And WPA 3 came out in 2018, so.
Okay, second part of my question.
In other words, it's annoying, but I would ignore it. I don't know why it's doing it. There was an issue with WPA 2 and pre-shared keys. I'm not sure what's going on, frankly. So.
Okay, so how you can change the SSID, so instead of it saying Media Link, you can have it say, Jeff's router or whatever.
Yeah.
But so it's like a 2 gig and a 5 gig. It's
yes.
like one of these dual band things.
Right.
So you can change the name on both of those. If I make it the same name, is that going to be a problem? Or
no, I do that. I do that because you don't want to have different passwords and SSIDs for different devices. So the device will choose. They give you the option. Many routers give the option, and typically what some people do is they'll have Jeff's router and Jeff's routers -5G. But I don't think you need to do that unless it doesn't work otherwise. The only reason you might want to do that, some IoT devices unfortunately will act as if they can join a 5 gigahertz network, but when they get on it, they don't work. So when that happens, it's sometimes nice to have a distinction between your 2.4 gigahertz and your 5 gigahertz so that you can join with the IoT devices. But unless those devices are rapidly disappearing, it was just a bad way to design that. So unless you have a problem with that, I wouldn't separate the names.
Okay, good. I did both of them as the same. So if somebody comes over and says, "What's your thing?"
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you use the same login and password everywhere, and theoretically, the device will be smart enough, or the router will be smart enough to assign the right frequency to the device. 2.4 gigahertz travels farther, but it's slower. 5 gigahertz is less crowded, less interference, but it doesn't travel very far. So there are reasons to use either.
Do you think the channel selection should be on auto, or do I need to select a numerical channel?
No, let them do that, unless you're having problems. Because if you want to choose your own channels, you have to do a Wi-Fi survey. You have to see what other devices are using, your neighbors and so forth, and then you can. But that's what it does. By the way, somebody in the chat room saying, if you go and look and see in your Media Link if there's an option, if you go to WPA2/WPA mixed, the iPhone will stop bugging you.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know if you have a setting for that. I was not aware of that.
There is.
Okay.
But I just kept selecting WPA2 because I had the thing.
Do the WPA2 WAP mixed or WPA mixed and see if that works.
The only thing I didn't do was reboot the router. So when I make a change like that and I save it, do I need to unplug it and then plug it back in?
I usually do, but I don't think you'd have to, but I usually do, yeah, just to.
Okay.
And JoJo, who has apparently a Media Link router, said he just tested it. It does fix it.
Cool.
So I don't know why iPhone's doing that. I usually trust Apple, though. If Apple says something's insecure, they have very good engineers. there's a reason to listen.
The iPad does it. The iPhone does it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
So maybe it's the router.
Yeah, I would check. And eventually you're going to want to upgrade. Once a router stops getting firmware updates, it's time to kind of look at another one because, unfortunately, these routers are often have insecurities pop up. And because it's your front line of defense to the outside world, it's really your gate into your house. It's really worth having it be secure. If MediaLink has given up on that model, and it sounds like they have, if they haven't updated it in 4 years, it might be time to look at a new one.
I was looking at the one on your website at Tech Guy Labs.
Which one is that? I don't know which one's there.
I don't remember.
Is it an advertiser? If that case, it's Eero, and I do think Eero is a very good choice. If you're having Wi-Fi issues. If you're not, Asus would be the one I'd probably recommend, the Asus.
That's what it was.
Yeah, Asus are very good. Yeah. Get a modern Asus. It has a really nice firmware. It will not give you this issue, I'm sure. Things like that.
Is it easy to set up?
Yep.
I'm not that technical.
It's easy to set up, but when you start getting more advanced, it's nice to have the additional features. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to take a break, but when I come back, I will tell you and everyone else the 5 things you must do before you use a new router. How about that?
Okay.
Special treat. Hey, it's nice to talk to you, Jeff. Good questions, actually. I understand your concern, though. If the phone is and the iPad are saying, it's insecure, there's reason to think about that. And I think we found the solution for you.
Cool.
Thanks for calling. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm not trying to get rid of you, honest. In fact, I would love it if you call. 8888-ASK. Leo is the phone number. Kevin's on the line from Huntington Beach, California. Our next call. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Hey, just like a week ago, I'm using my Gmail, Chrome Gmail. And I have a MacBook OS High Sierra version 10.13.6. And my problem is, in my Gmail, I can't edit, it's just out of nowhere. I've never had this problem. I can't edit the text. Like the cursor bar, when I click into any of the text, it's like, it can't get into it. It just gives you like the blue little spacer as if you were going to copy and paste something. But I can't. I don't know.
That's weird. So you create an email and you go into the email, you can't type into it?
Yeah. Once I create the email and I go back into it, I can't type back into it.
Oh. But you can create it. So you can type into it at first.
Right. Exactly.
But once you send it or save it?
Right.
So if you're just saving it, you should be able to re-edit it. But once you send it, you can't re-edit it. You have to choose edit and resend because it's already been sent. So that's sensible in Gmail. You can't re-edit a sent email. But if you're trying to edit a draft, make sure I've got to go into Gmail, but I'm going to presume when you...
I've done this a million times. I don't understand. I can't go back into an old email and go back into it and add something.
You already sent it? You already sent it, right?
Yeah, I've already sent it.
Yeah, you won't be able to ever edit a mail that you've already sent because it's done. It's out of your control. The only way you can take a mail that's been sent and then modify it, I'm gonna go do this right now. I'm opening an email that I sent out, and of course I can't type in it, but I can under this. I can reply, or I can, you can't edit something you've already sent, if that makes sense. You can only edit something you've created but not sent. So you should be able to.
So I can only obviously create some edit as I'm doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Once you send it, and there's a reason for that, it's been sent this way. It's as if you published it. It's been sent, and so they don't want you to go into sent mail and edit it because, well, it doesn't make sense. That's not what the guy got, what you sent. So in order to do that, you have to re-edit the existing mail, which you can do. You can...
Let me see. Can I...
But if you start mail, if you compose mail and then just save it without sending it, you should at that point be able to edit it.
Can I'm opening up an old email of something I sent to myself.
Right. You should be.
I don't want to. So I don't want to edit it, but I do want to add
what you'll need to do is
reply.
You could reply. Yep. That would allow you to edit it. Or, this email, I'm looking at my Gmail.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Some email programs will allow you to edit and resend. In other words, say, I want to create a new email based on the old email, make some changes, and then send it again. But this looks like Gmail does not have that feature. It's just you could say forward. Forward will do the same thing as well. You'll have the copy of the forwarded message, which you can then edit. The point being to preserve the integrity of the sent message, so that when somebody looks at a sent message, it hasn't been changed from the way it was. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so I can edit it if I take it.
If you reply to it, forward it, or just copy and paste it into a new email. Yeah.
And then I can re-edit that.
Then you can re-edit it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, I thought it was going out of my mind.
No. I swear to God. Does it make sense though to you, Kevin, that they don't want you to change mail once it's been sent? It's like you pressed the publish button. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sounds good.
All right, Kevin. Hey, good question. It's not explicit. They don't say, you can't do this. They just don't let you do it. And so it's a reasonable question. Somebody's telling me in Apple Mail, there's a button, in addition to forward and reply, there's a redirect button, which takes that email that you've sent already, duplicates it, changes or blanks out the to field, lets you send it to somebody else. And at that point, you can also edit it. So in other words, the redirect button just creates a brand new message using the old text as a template or something like that. So I guess conceptually, that's the thing that's maybe not obvious. But when you send an email, you're fixing it. You're fixing it in time. You're saying this is the email as sent. And you wouldn't want to modify that, or you can see why it might be undesirable to modify that. When you go into your sent folder and look at mail you've sent, you want to see it as it was sent, not any changes you might have made later, because only you would see those, not the recipient. So you're looking at the email that the recipient got, in effect. Think of it that way. Yeah, and I think, I don't know why Gmail doesn't let you take the message and re-edit it. That's kind of surprising. Jim in Bell, California, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Leo, how are you?
I'm great.
Good. So I've got a child that's going away to school. He's going to be taking some pretty advanced courses. I'm looking at a laptop, and I've been researching these things for 3 or 4 days now, and it really depends on, who sponsors the study or the app.
Yeah, I'll give you the unbiased. How about that? So she's going to study STEM? She's going to science, technology, engineering, or math?
Correct.
Yeah. Really, the first thing to do is call the school. Where's she going?
Washington State.
Exciting. First thing to do is call the school, call the bursar's office, and ask if those departments have recommendations. They may. And that would be based on the software that they expect you to use, especially as an incoming freshman. Although when you buy a laptop for a kid going to college, you don't want to buy more than one every 4 years. So you're going to try to get something that'll do everything. In general, it's not going to make a difference. Windows or Mac, it's not going to matter. I think students like laptops. They get stolen a little bit more often. They're less safe, but I think they like them, and I think a MacBook Air is a great choice for anybody going off to college. But hang on, because we can talk a little more off the air. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Thank you.
Yeah, almost at this point, it used to be, 10 years ago, I'd say, you got to check with a college. Some colleges are Mac-focused, some are Windows-focused. Now it doesn't matter. Kids come in, a lot of them come in with Chromebooks. So because the way they generally set this stuff up is so that you can, there's a printer in the dorm often. You could do everything you need to do with any operating system. But if she's going to be in a specific department, you want to find out what software that they expect her to use, things like that. And again, that's less of a problem than it used to be. Almost everything works on both. Once she gets really serious, she may be doing coding in Python. A lot of science and math requires that. I think it's probably a good idea to check with the school, and maybe if the bursar doesn't know, then check with the individual departments that she thinks is she a freshman, incoming freshman, or?
Should be a junior.
Okay, so she's serious at this point. She knows what she wants to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she should ask the department if she, what for her major. Say, what do you guys use and recommend? Dollars to donuts, they're going to say, oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little school guy. So it's like back in the day, you had this brand or this.
It made a big difference.
Anymore.
Yeah. I think
not any longer.
I wouldn't go too cheap. It is the case, especially in the PC, not only in the PC world, not in the Mac world, because Mac only sells kind of pro grade stuff. But in the PC world, they usually have a consumer grade and a pro grade or a business grade. And the cheaper stuff is often less reliable. So if you're on a budget, it's fine. But if you want something that's really going to be robust, if you want to get Windows, I would look at my first choice would be a Lenovo ThinkPad.
Okay.
Dell also makes excellent Windows machines. And in both cases, I would get on-site support. It's not very expensive. And it's nice if her hard drive fails, they'll come and fix it, which is really nice to have, especially for a student. I personally think a Mac is a really good choice for a student. And the new Macs, whether it's a MacBook Air or a MacBook Pro, they're 13 inches, they're small, they're light, they have amazing battery life. They'll get her through a whole day easily. No Windows laptop will do that. They'll get her through a whole day. And they're fast enough to do almost any scientific software that she needs to run. The only issue would be if that department says, no, you got to be able to use MATLAB on Windows, then you're going to have to get her a Windows machine. So she probably has a preference one or the other, right?
Yeah, I think she's more of a PC person than a Mac person.
I think a ThinkPad these ThinkPads, if you want to look at the ThinkPad X1 Carbon Nano, the ThinkPad Nano is very thin and light, very, very powerful for its size, the X1 Nano, and I think is a really nice choice. It's a powerful enough computer, but really an ideal computer for bringing to school.
Perfect. I'll look into it.
Yeah, that's the one I would get if I were about to head off. Is she loving it?
Yeah.
What is she studying? What's her major?
What's she doing? Astrophysics, I believe.
Oh my God. So I don't know what physicists use these days. But
I don't know.
Truth is, it doesn't really matter. And you know what? If it turns out she needs more Unix-y software, you could put Linux on this, no sweat. All the ThinkPads run Linux beautifully. In fact, they sell them with Linux if you want. Jim, you're a nice dad.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
I appreciate you. I listen to every weekend. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate you. Thanks for calling. Take care.
All right, take care, Lee.
He's been nowhere, but he's going somewhere any day now. Johnny Jet, our travel guru, JohnnyJet.com. He joins us every week. I was telling Johnny, I finally broke down. It's been killing me. No travel for a year now.
Me too.
Last vacation I went on was October, November 2019. Last time I was on an airplane was March 2020. And I got a hankering. I got a craving. I want to get on board. So I don't know what happened. A wild hair. I booked a cruise. It's Hong Kong to Singapore in February 2022. What do you think? Is that too early? You said it might be a little too early.
I think it might be. I mean,
Why?
I really hope I'm wrong. I pray I'm wrong. But, Asia, they're talking about Asia not opening up till Americans to at least like October probably. But again, no one really knows. But after Singapore, I talked about it last week, after they built this business center where you're basically in a hotel room that has a glass wall between the boardroom, so you can just see face to face, but you can't touch the person or breathe the same air.
Yeah.
Singapore, I mean, I love Singapore. We talked about it all the time, but
we were supposed to go, as you know, in January to the similar trip. Not exactly. It's Hong Kong, Vietnam, Thailand, Singapore.
Hong Kong. I just read Cathay. First of all, Hong Kong is not what we used to be. Hong Kong was my favorite city in the world.
Yeah, Chinese crackdown.
Cathay Pacific, they've been showing like 90% load factors. They're down 90%. So load factors are 10%.
Well, that's one of the reasons I booked it. It was cheap. The other reason was I can cancel up to 30 days ahead of time and get a full refund.
Then there's nothing to lose.
There's a third reason. We had bought on our cruise that was supposed to be in January. We bought travel insurance, couldn't get a refund on that, just got a credit. I needed to use it. So I got the travel insurance free, in effect. So I feel like, I think I'm probably okay. It's a year from now, Johnny.
I know, but listen, I was just listening to some podcasts yesterday about this. But you brought up a really good subject. So a topic that if you flew last year or actually did not fly last year, but you booked tickets and you could not get a refund, which a lot of people couldn't. I have tons of tickets.
Get credits, yeah.
But some of those credits are expiring depending on the airline. The major airlines will let you go to the end of the year this year. But make sure you go and find out what those voucher expiration dates are. And if they are for expiring soon, book a ticket for the future because then you can change it for free. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm optimistic. Although some of these new mutations and variants have me a little bit worried, but travel has definitely picked up in the U.S. I mean, in January, there was only 3 days that were over 1 million people going through the TSA checkpoints, and those were right after New Year's Day. And then February had 7 days of over 1 million people. So far in March, there's already been 3, including the last 2 days, over 1 million people. And it's only March 6th today. So everyone says that March is going to have a lot of people going over 1 million because so many people have been vaccinated. They're feeling more free, even though, you still have to be careful. And there's spring break going on. And they say most of the spring breakers are going to be in their 60s. So, which is interesting. And, a lot of airlines.
Spring breakers in their 60s? Yeah. Keep your shirt on, guys. Please. Do me a favor. That's hysterical.
Yeah, because obviously there's going to be college kids too, but there's a lot of spring breakers.
The college kids are not going to be happy, I can tell you. The last thing they want is grandma and grandpa showing up at their spring break.
I understand. I remember when I went on spring break, but, a lot of the airlines are pivoted. They used to cater to business travelers now, including in Europe. I just read an article on CNBC how all the big airlines that used to just cater to business travelers are now following the flow of people, and they don't think business travel is going to bounce back for a while. So they're going to start going to Greece and Spain and all these leisure destinations instead of Switzerland or Zurich, where a lot of business takes place, or Geneva. And here it's Florida. Florida is just.
You can go to Florida now, right? It's wide open.
And Mexico. Cancun is widely popular. But again, you really got to, if you do travel internationally, you have to remember that when you come back to the U.S., no matter if you're American or not, you need to have a COVID negative test within the last 3 days or 72 hours.
I am betting that a year from now, this will be a history.
You know what? I would have said that last week, and then I was just reading some not so good stuff. I hope you're wrong, but if you are thinking about traveling, now is the time to buy because they're not going to get cheaper. I was just looking. You could fly San Francisco, Tampa, $229 round trip on American. You could fly LA to Orlando, $125 round trip on United. These fares are incredible. New York City, nonstop, JFK, LAX, $217 round trip. The average U.S. domestic fare last year was $135, which is shockingly low.
Right.
And they're talking about May 15th is a day that we're going to find out if Europe's going to open up to Americans. And they think it's going to slowly open up. They're going to start doing it by, regions.
Aren't we on track to all be vaccinated by the end of May, something like that? I thought that was the case.
They say that they're going to have all the vaccines.
That doesn't mean we're going to be all vaccinated. Yeah, they'll be available.
But if you are booking, by the way, flights before May 1st, book on Delta. You have an empty middle seat guaranteed from now to April 30th.
Good. So that's nice.
Not only does that reduce your chances of getting COVID, but more importantly, you'll have much more legroom. Having an empty middle seat is like a dream on these flights. And they're so low. The prices are so low.
Yeah, I think we're a little beat up, and we're really reluctant at this point to be hopeful. It's been so bad.
I know.
That we don't want to get our hopes up. We'd prefer to be surprised. Oh, look, everything's good. Than be disappointed yet again.
But speaking about some technology, the first Space Hotel is supposed to open up in 2027. Did
Well,
you see
that's
that?
safe. That's safe. There's no COVID in space.
Until Americans come up. But
until we show up. Wait, was Space Hotel where? In like the space station? Where?
I have no idea. They're gonna start construction in 2025. It's a ring-shaped space station, and it's gonna rotate.
I'll go.
Artificial gravity.
I mean, I'll be there.
There's no cost yet.
Count me in.
More technology. I hope they don't bring this to America because China, the way they give COVID tests is.
Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I know what you're
going to. They make you bend over.
I know.
They don't want that. So Japan's asking China to stop that practice.
By the way, that's anybody coming into China who has to be tested that way. Is that right?
Yeah. But
why do they do that?
Because it's supposed to be more accurate.
It's not as annoying. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. You can get
I'm not dropping my drawers.
But have you had the one up your nose? Apparently,
yes, I have.
It's pretty painful.
It wasn't painful.
It wasn't?
It's uncomfortable.
Oh, my wife got it. She said it was extremely uncomfortable.
No, it's not. Actually, I was worried about it, but it was not bad at all.
Okay. Maybe she just got a mean nurse.
But also news with Japan, they say that the most likely the Olympics will not host overseas spectators.
86.7% of Japanese citizens do not want the Olympics to happen this summer.
Right.
They're terrified.
So if you do have a ticket for, and one of my friends does, there was a good article in the LA Times yesterday about how to get a refund. It's not easy. They're making it difficult.
What? You're not allowed into Japan, but you can't get a refund?
Well, to be honest, I haven't read the whole article. I just read
you
the
just
teaser.
skimmed it. That's all right. Yeah. That's traditional for sharing on Facebook or this show. Just the headlines, all you need. That's all you need. Johnny Jet, if you are interested in travel, I'm telling you, Johnny, I know nobody wants to be hopeful. I think we're coming back, baby. And I think this summer is going to be amazing. The fall's going to be unheard of. By next year, it's party central. And
from your lips to God's ears, I'm with you. I'm with you, baby.
I'm telling you. Go to johnnyjet.com. Start getting ready. He's got a great newsletter, several of them. They're free. His Instagram, Johnny Jet. His Twitter, Johnny Jet. His podcast, johnnyjet.com/podcast. Did I get everything?
You think you got it all?
He's Johnny Jet, our travel guru. It's coming back, baby. Yeah. We didn't want to do anything in 2021, but I figured, God, by 2022, and of course,
but it's January. You're talking about January 2022.
If you
January. Said late, I was like, for sure.
Late January 27th, we fly to Hong Kong because our anniversary and Lisa's birthday is on the 29th. We want to be in Hong Kong on the 29th. That's a Saturday for our birthday anniversary. Then the boat leaves on the Monday. It's only a 2-weeker. It's not a long cruise. It was cheap. That's one of the reasons is the prices are fairly
well. If you said Israel, I'd be like, definitely. I mean,
because they're all vaccinated.
Gearing up.
I just came back from Israel.
Actually, Royal Caribbean's moving one of their ships there because everyone has to be vaccinated in all of Israel. They've done the best job. I mean, it's also the size of New Jersey, the country, but they're really making sure that they want everyone to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
And that's what they think that every cruise passenger is going to need to be vaccinated. They haven't come out with it. Some of them have.
We will. We're going to get vaccinated in the next month or so, I would imagine. I would hope. I would guess.
Yeah, let's get these shots in people's arms.
When are you getting yours? Do you know?
Soon.
I know.
I hope soon.
I think this month or next.
I'm ready.
I want to travel. My travel agent who listens to this show. Hi, Jane. I think was very happy to hear from me.
That's good. Listen, I've received a lot of emails, actually even more this week from your listeners saying, I love listening to your segment on travel and I can just feel that travel is bouncing back because I'm getting more emails like this. Traffic is going up.
Something hit me. Somebody hit me. It's like, okay. I think part of it is we usually plan a year ahead for our trips, right? So it was like I'm not going to not go somewhere next year.
Well, I wrote a post this week saying that I think this year again is going to be mostly domestic travel, and I took some hits. I had a bunch of travel agents say, "Listen, I'm booking Europe."
Yeah.
But one of their tricks
is booking.
They're recommending people to book different countries to see which ones open up, but they think the UK is definitely going to open up. I don't want to push it.
That's why next year, and we this year I think we're going to do a drive up the East Coast in the before because
I
Mike will
hope to
be
go
going
to
to
Florida,
college.
Hawaii, New York, Connecticut, and even Toronto to see my in-laws.
Yeah, you want to see your fam. When are you going to Florida?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know. I have some tickets booked.
See, I'm not worried about the mutations. For one thing, there'll be fewer of them as fewer people get the darn, COVID. And at least so far, every vaccine at least prevents serious illness and death. So maybe you get sick. Big deal.
Right. Well, my concern now is that they're talking about this B117 for kids, that 0 to 9-year-olds, they're seeing a huge spike. And that's what makes me nervous. I got 2 little kids.
You got kids?
So,
I don't care.
Yeah. And they can't be vaccinated. So
yeah, no, that's reasonable. Yeah. All right, my friend.
All right, buddy. Have a great week.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. We're talking high tech. Oh, I forgot. I promised. I said something and I didn't do it yet, but I will do it right now. The 5 things you need to do when you get a new router, specifically a Wi-Fi router. These days, does anybody get a router that's not Wi-Fi? Right? You want Wi-Fi, right? Wireless for your phone, your laptop. So these are the things you need to do when you get that new router. You ready? You got a pencil? Right? Well, actually, you don't have to write it down. James is going to write it down for us. James DeRuvo, our scribe. Actually, he doesn't even have to write it down because it's on the website like 20 different times. It took me a while, but I boiled it down. So the first thing you should do, you're going to change what they call the SSID, the name of the Wi-Fi network, because you don't want it to announce the brand name of your router. And when you do that, you're going to change the default password, the login password. So change the Wi-Fi name and the login password. That's 2 things, okay? The reason you change the Wi-Fi name is if it's Linksys, unless you've got an Eero and you call it Linksys, that probably is clever. That would be clever. But if you announce the name, then there are, Linksys, for instance, there are a number of Linksys routers that have flaws in them, easy ways to get in. And for the most part, they've been fixed. But if I'm a bad guy driving around and I see Linksys, I'm going to stop and see if I can get in there. I'm not a bad guy. You should be grateful because I'm not going to stop. I don't care. So change the name, change the password. So obviously, nobody can get into your Wi-Fi router. In fact, while you're doing that, turn off what they call a WAN administration, the ability to administer your network, your router from outside. You only want to be able to do that from inside your network, unless you have a good reason. But most people are not going to be at work administering their Wi-Fi network. So turn off, they call it WAN administration. Turn that off. You want to turn off UPnP, Universal Plug and Play, as well. That is a hazard because Universal Plug and Play, it was created by Microsoft. Frankly, it was created for the Xbox so that a kid with an Xbox at home could set up a game and others could join it. So what UPnP does, it allows the Xbox to modify the router's firewall so that people can get in. Now, if it's an Xbox doing that, okay, that's harmless. But what Microsoft wasn't really thinking is it's only going to be a matter of time before some criminal puts something on my computer that says to the router, come on in, guys, the water's fine. You don't want any program inside your network to be able to open up your network to the outside world. So turn off UPnP. You don't need it. Maybe your kid won't be able to start an Xbox game. Sorry. If he or she wants to do that, there's ways around it. But having UPnP is a bad idea. And while you're at it, turn off that silly one-button login thing for the routers. There's it's called WPS, so it might say WPS login or whatever. The idea was it was an easy way. Anything, easy and security, they don't go together. They don't go together. WPS Wi-Fi protected setup allowed you to push a button on your router and make it easy to join that router. Well, it also made it easy for hackers. It was a mess. If it's got that on your router, turn that off. turn off. So you're turning off UP&P, you're turning off WAN administration, you're turning off WPS. Okay, that's 3 things to turn off. The last thing, I think this is going to be 6. I think I've added more. The last thing that you absolutely want to do is turn on encryption so that the traffic that you send and receive to the router, the Wi-Fi traffic, is scrambled so that people can't just look and see what you're up to. And if you turn it on, any up-to-date router will offer WPA2. It might even offer WPA3. Higher number, better. But older routers, and in fact, some early Nintendo gear and stuff like that could only use WEP. That has been cracked. That's not fully secure. If it's the only choice you have, or if you have a device that requires it, okay. But better if you can use WPA2 or WPA3. That's it. No, you don't need to rename, or hide your SSID. No, that doesn't help. No, you don't need to set it up so that only certain devices can get on that. That doesn't help. And the reason is that's easy to get around. In both cases, easy to get around. So make it convenient. It's okay to send out your Wi-Fi SSID to broadcast that. You're doing it anyway, whether you turn it on or off. And it's no need to say only people with this IP address or this MAC address can log in. That's easily spoofed, that MAC address filtering. Okay? So there's a couple of things you don't need to turn on. Yeah, the Sony PSP. So, yeah, I did mention change the admin password, turn off wide area network administration, turn off UP&P, turn off WPS. Okay, that's 4. Don't use the default SSID. Create one of yourself. I use, in my case, for a while I was using Star Systems, then Dead Rock Stars. Now I'm using Japanese horror movie monster names. I've got a Godzilla, I've got a Mothra, but whatever. But don't name it the name of your device because that's just advertising. And don't give it your family name or your street address. Just, something that but isn't obviously advertising. Hey, we got a router over here. No, you don't want to do that. And then finally, turn on encryption and use strong encryption, WPA2. In fact, if you're using encryption, WPA2 is crackable if you have a bad password, an easily guessed password. So I don't make my Wi-Fi passwords super hard because you're going to give it out. You want everybody to be able to do it. You don't want to make it hard to type in for yourself. So you can make it somewhat easy, but don't make it too easy. Okay? So that's actually 7 things. James, can you update that list? I hope you... Dr. Mom has a name for her Wi-Fi access point. As I said, I use Japanese horror movie names. She names hers the NSA Secure Access Point. I've seen a lot of people do, FBI surveillance van. Honestly, I'm not a fan of that, only because, again, if I were a bad guy, it might be, oh, yeah, sure, NSA surveillance point. Let me just see if I can get into that. I think something that doesn't attract attention is probably a good idea. Big Island Aloha in our chat room says, I use deep sky object names. Ooh, like Pluto? That's good. Some people, I've seen people use Wi-Fi names to razz their neighbor. Like, stop playing your music so loud. You can do that. You can do that. That's okay. WPA2 PSK, pre-shared key. 8888 ask Leo. So there it is. That's my patented list. It's not patented to anybody. You can copy it. You can give it to your friends. You can tell your neighbors. It's all on the website. If you want to copy it down, make a note of it. That's all you need to do. That will make your Wi-Fi router as secure as a wired network to start. And in fact, it goes a little bit beyond that, I think. It makes it as strong as it can be, and that's what you want. Some people are coming up with some really great Wi-Fi access point names. That's kind of fun. COVID-19, that's a good one. I wouldn't log into that. All of that will be at the website, techguylabs.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls right after this. This land is my land. That's good. I like that, Scooter X. How about maybe in my next Wi-Fi routers, I'll name them after parasitic organisms. Tapeworm. But instead, I like the idea of using the scientific name. So, let's see. Acanthocephala. That would be good. You will log into my Wi-Fi? Yeah, it's Acanthocephala. What? How about tapeworms are cystoda? How about that? Or filariasis. Never mind. I can't pronounce it. Schistosomiasis. I think only trichinella. That's easy. Hey, welcome to Trichinella. That's cool. David named the router after his grandfather's family coal company to keep the name alive. I love that. Yeah, that's the thing. You got to remember, you're going to have to type it in. Same thing with the password, right? Football terms. That's good. Duluth Steve going to Hawaii in July. And jelly. Well, hey. How are you today? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography. We got your smartphones. We got your smart watches. We got all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Things you hear on the show end up on the website, techguylabs.com. And that's free. There's no sign up. You can wander in like websites used to be. Yeah, in the good old days, no paywall. Techguylabs.com. Somebody in the chat room is saying, well, where can I get that list of the 5 things, which turned out to be 7, you should do when setting up a Wi-Fi router? We put that all, James DeRuvo, our scribe, wrote that all down, and he put that all up at the website. So it's all there for free for you. Techguylabs.com. The site is divided into shows. Each show divided into hours. There's 3 hours per show. And then each hour divided into segments. There's 4 segments per hour. So you can go pretty much to the part of the show that you want. See the question. There's text, question and answer. There's links, if I mention links, things like that there. And then after the fact, we add audio and video from the show, too. So you can actually listen and take notes or do it whatever way you like the best. TechGuyLabs.com. This episode is episode 1776 in a continuing journey making the world safer one computer at a time. 1776. That's an easy one to remember. Robert's on the line from Murrieta, Georgia. Our next caller. Hello, Robert.
Hey, Leo, you got the city right, the state wrong. It's Murrieta, California.
Yeah, that sounds right. I thought it was a G, but I see now it's a C. Sorry about that. I think there's a Marietta in Georgia and a Murrieta in California, so I should have known better.
Not a problem. Hey, you're worth waiting for, I hope.
Thank you. Well, I hope so too. I know I kept you waiting, going on and on last segment. What can I do for you?
My cardiologist just recently recommended that I start using a Cardia. You know what that is?
I have one. Yeah.
And I don't know if us old folks out here at this end misunderstood, but we thought a couple months ago you said something either good or bad about them. So I thought I better check before.
They're good, but there are things to consider. You're the best case, which is your cardiologist said get one. That's all you need. That's his recommendation. It comes from a company called AliveCore, and it's only $100. It's cheap, but you do need a smartphone and their special software. So when you go into given that you have a cardiologist, I'm sure you've done this. When you go in and get an EKG, they hook up more than one lead, right? There's about, I think, something like 20 leads they hook up to all the different parts of your torso. And then you lie down, and they've got a graph paper, and they're measuring your heart rate. So the Cardia, and by the way, there's a similar device with the Apple Watch, although I don't think it's quite as good. But both the Apple Watch and the Cardia are 2 leads. So with the Cardia, you've got a device with metal contacts. You put your thumbs on it, you hold it for a minute, and it gets the sinus rhythm of your heart, your heartbeat on the screen. It isn't as good as the full 20 lead EKG that you'd get at the hospital, but your cardiologist, because he already knows what your condition is, whether it's arrhythmias or other conditions, he knows what to look for. And tachycardia, bradycardia, ATF. There are a lot of different things that you can actually see on those EKGs. So he'll look for that, and then he would, of course, if he saw anything of concern, he'd have to say, "Come on in, we want to do a real one." So they're not as complete as a full EKG, but boy, for $89, $99, something like that, you can carry it in your pocket. If you feel any discomfort or pain, you immediately do it. You can see why your doctor would recommend it. And when you set up the AliveCourse software, it actually connects you. You have a choice of it sending it to your physician or connecting you to their own cardiologists. So I got to say they've dropped the price. It's $89 now. That's a great deal. Works with Android and iOS. They do have a 6-lead version, and that may be what he's recommended. Do you have atrial fibrillation? What is?
Well, that's what he's trying to determine.
Exactly. So you go into the hospital and he does an EKG, but that's a point in time. He'd like more measurements over a longer period of time, right?
Yeah, and he also wants to, if I feel like an episode coming on,
exactly.
Exactly.
Yep, but that's exactly what these are for. They're fantastic. They're FDA cleared, so they are safe and effective. I guess that's what the FDA is looking at. I don't know what they look at with a device. They do have, for a little bit more, a new one, which is a 6-lead measurement, and I would go with whatever your doctor said to get. But I think this is great. I have a friend with ATF, and he uses it, and he says it's a lifesaver. So highly recommend it.
Super.
Yeah,
well, that's great.
I
want to go into something that wasn't safe or whatever.
Go and do it. It's not only safe, it's great. And if your cardiologist says go for it, man, that you couldn't get better recommendation than that.
Super. Hey, Leo, we really appreciate your show. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you listened. Thank you, Robert. You might have just saved your life. Honestly. This is one of the most remarkable advances, and it's not much paid attention to. But it started with the Apple Watch, because Apple quickly realized they didn't know what it was going to be when they released it 5 or 6 years ago. They weren't sure. But over time, maybe it's 7 years now, over time, if you forgive the pun, as people used it, they figured out, you know what people really like is the health stuff, both the exercise stuff, but also the health measurements. It now measures your oxygen capacity of your breathing, not super accurately, your heart rate, not super accurately. It will do this 2-lead EKG, not super accurately, but it's enough. And there are stories, many of them now, of people whose lives have been saved by the Apple Watch. Even the fall detection. And I got one from my mom, who's 88, because she wants to walk. I said, Mom, walk, but please wear this watch. And I showed her how to use it. I explained it all. Because if you fall and you knock yourself unconscious, it will call for help. Or you can't get up or you can't move, it will call for help. So this is really important. I think increasingly, this is an amazing and I think very concrete use of this smartphone technology. You know, when the iPhone came out in 2007, it was a little gimmicky, okay? And the smartphones are kind of gimmicky. I mean, most people use it for Snapchat and TikTok and maybe texting and that kind of thing. But there are some legitimately real values to having this kind of a powerful computer in your pocket, and we're seeing more and more of that. There is a strong rumor that Apple has some sort of diabetic measurement system that they're going to maybe put in the next version of the Apple Watch. This is the holy grail for all of these companies. If they could find an inexpensive, easy way to measure blood glucose, not only would it save lives, but it would be a gold mine for those companies. There's rumor. I mean, Apple's working hard on it. There's rumors they may be getting close, which would be very, very interesting. And I think, in time, Apple's also going to add more health features, I think, to their AirPods, the things you put in the ears. Turns out if something's in your ear, There's all sorts of things you can tell because you're even closer to the blood flow there. And we're going to get glasses eventually from Apple. I think that's the next thing they're working on. This is, besides all the great things you can do with Snapchat and TikTok, this is going to be a very important advance, and I think for the health of all of us, that's good news. And I think the Cardia, Kardia, from AliveCore, ALIVECOR.com, is a really amazing advance. Very inexpensive too. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Fred in Fraser Park, you're next. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Leo. I've got a suggestion for people that are listeners that are either blind or homebound.
Excellent.
Really simple.
Yes.
Call your local library.
Okay.
You can call. The librarians will look stuff up for you to an extent that's amazing.
Oh, that's a really good point. Especially if you say, hey, I'm blind, I need some help, or I'm homebound, I need some help. Librarians are trained in research often. And
they're incredible researchers. You actually get so you know the people you're talking to also. And the range of things they can look up and their ability to research, it's really pretty mind-boggling.
I am so thrilled that you mentioned that. And I would bet librarians would be thrilled to hear from you because these days, used to be when I was growing up, until I was about 20, no, maybe 30, you'd have to go to the library to, if somebody said, gee, I wonder how many kids under 13 there are in the U.S. Where would you go to find that? You go to the library, right? And it would take some time. I usually go to the librarian and say, where would I find that? They're experts in this kind of thing. But ever since everybody's got a computer in their pocket and the internet all the time, you just ask Google. It's easy to find out. But there are people who can't, and so the librarian is there to help. And I bet you they would love to help out.
Google doesn't talk back, and the thing that's interesting, I live in the mountains halfway between L.A. and Bakersfield, and we lucked out about 8 years ago. We had a multi-million-dollar library built, and we have a really small community, so we were really lucky. But they are really smart, and what they've started doing is they will log the calls where they're looking stuff up.
Yeah.
And when their funding comes at the end of the year, they not only say we've had this many patrons come into the library, they'll say we've answered this many calls, and that helps with their funding.
Isn't that good? So they really welcome your call. You're helping them. Yeah.
Friends doing it.
That's really, really great. Do you find it works better if you identify as a blind user or somebody who's homebound, or does it matter?
Yeah, at first I did a little bit, and now it's like, hey, Fred.
They know you.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said, I think that they are underutilized these days, so you're doing them a favor.
Well, you're doing each other a big favor.
I love it.
And the range of things they can look up and the speed and the ability they have, it's really pretty mind-blowing.
I know. They're trained in this. This is their field, but it's become less and less important in this day and age of universal internet access. Fred, may I ask you, are you blind?
Yes, I am. I've called before.
I think we've talked before. Have you ever used Be My Eyes? I'm curious about that.
No. As I told you in the past, I am in the visual arts. That sounds weird. I'm a college teacher, or I was. I've been put through a very, very weird credentialing and vetting, and where it's all going to go, I don't know. When I started teaching in 76, my vision was wiped out for a couple of weeks, and go figure. I mean, I can't really tell you. I've tried to, while I've been blind, to learn absolutely as much as I can about it and to see if I can be helpful.
Isn't that great? So is your sight going to come back?
I have no idea. It was done in 76. The college I taught at wanted me to be a senior officer, and I said no, and they screamed at me. I just want to work with kids. I love doing
That's great.
that.
Good for you.
But in the meantime, it's like, well, this is where I am, and I want to learn this stuff. And what I find interesting is that a lot of the really complicated ways people go to solve problems, they're really making things a lot worse rather than better.
How so?
As an example, on phones, all you need are three-dimensional buttons. Buttons that you can feel, that are raised, that are separated. And I mentioned before, one of the times we talked, the number 5 on a push-button phone will have a bump on it.
Right. That's always in the middle, right? That's the...
Well, there's the standard structure of a keypad, which maybe somebody listening doesn't know. There's a top row, 1, 2, 3.
Right.
A middle row, 4, 5, 6. 5 is in the middle.
Right.
Bottom row, 7, 8, 9. Below 8 is 0. To the left of 0 is star. To the right of 0 is pound. You can call anybody.
I bet there are a lot of kids of a maybe under 25 who have no idea what you're talking about. They haven't seen a physical keypad. Maybe at the ATM machine. They're slowly going away. They're all on screen these days.
It's unfortunate because the assumption is that a touch screen works for everybody, and they don't.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. Fred, I'm so glad you called. I really appreciate it. And I bet you there are a few librarians out there going, right on.
Another thing I'll suggest, I did for our county library system. Some of the library systems will do PSAs on local radio and TV. And if they advertise that as a service that's available, I think it's going to help a lot of people.
That would be great. Well, you've done a lot of good. I think you've told people, and I don't think you even have to need, help if you want to use the library. Please, I bet you they're thrilled to have you.
Well, yeah, they are, and all you have to do, you memorize their phone number, you memorize their hours, and that's it.
That's awesome. That's great, Fred. I always enjoy talking to you. I know we have a lot of blind and low vision listeners because it's the nature of radio, and I don't serve them that well, but I'm glad there are people out there like you who can help.
Well, I disagree. I think you serve them quite well.
I do my best. Thank you, Fred.
Thank you.
Take care. In fact, I was asked some weeks ago, and I made a point to remember to tell you about this, about screen readers. And the best-known commercial screen reader for Windows is called JAWS. And at the time, I said, "Oh, it's so expensive. You need insurance or support to do this." One of the developers called me and said, "You know what? We now have a $90 a year subscription for JAWS, the screen reader. It's affordable for almost anybody. So if you are blind or low vision and you're looking for a screen reader that'll help you use your PC, check out JAWS. That subscription is a huge improvement. I'm so glad to be updated on that." Leo Laporte, the tech guy, the GizWiz, coming up in 15 with his gadget of the week. But meanwhile, let's take some more calls. George is on the line from Santa Monica, California. Hi, George.
Hi, Leo. Good afternoon to the world's tech guru. Hey, before I ask my question, did I hear on your show that Petaluma's not allowing any more gas stations to be built in the town?
Just announced. City Council just voted it in. First city in the country to do it. Yep.
Good. It's the end of the gasoline world. It's coming to all batteries now.
I'm a EV driver, as you might know. I've mentioned it before. I loved my Tesla. We have a Chevy Bolt now, and I just got a new Ford Mustang Mach-E. I love driving electric vehicles. We're seeing more and more chargers put in. We have plenty of gas stations. The people who drive gas vehicles aren't going to be without gas stations, but I think it might be time to think about not building any more. They're very polluting. We have several areas in downtown Petaluma that can't be built on until they're remediated because the tanks leaked. And remediation is a multi-million-dollar effort. So these are just empty plots of land where a gas station used to be. And I don't think we need any more of those either. So I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I had a two car leases for 5 years total, driving electric car. It's my best car ever.
Aren't they fun to drive? They're great.
They are.
Yeah.
My question is, I'm trying to set up my smart plugs to run my lights when I come home. It'll automatically turn on at a certain time.
Okay.
But my Wi-Fi only puts out, was it 5 gigahertz or megahertz? And
yeah.
I have to set up at 2.4.
Yeah, so that's a problem. Are you sure your Wi-Fi won't do 2.4? Most Wi-Fi is at least dual band. It'll be doing both 5 and 2. Some are tri-band, but I don't know of any devices that don't do 2.4.
I called Spectrum,
it's Spectrum.
My Wi-Fi.
Yeah. And
it says that the Wi-Fi is only putting out 5 megahertz. There's no way for me to select 2.4.
Well, that's nuts. That's the first. I've never heard of a device that does this. Maybe Spectrum feels like this is the future or something. So here's what you're going to, if that's the case, and there's no setting you can change, I would call again and make sure you didn't get a bozo on customer support, because it sounds a little odd to me.
Well, they're putting out just that type of Wi-Fi, and I said, do you have any old ones that people turned in their old one? So I'll just go back.
It's not a modern thing. That's the thing. It's possible they've set it that way. You can turn off the 2.4 gigahertz radios. So first thing I do is log in, find out how, if you don't know already, to use your browser on a computer inside the network to log into that Spectrum router and look at the settings. You may well have gotten somebody who's misinformed, or it's been turned off and you can turn it on again. But if that's not the case, every cable company allows you to buy your own router, to disable the router in that Spectrum, buy a new router. Any router you buy will both do 2.4 and 5. I was talking about this earlier. You may want to name them differently so that when you get this smart plug, you can join the proper network. It's been a problem in the past where some of these IoT devices, for some reason, join the 5 gigahertz network even though they can't use it, in which case you'll get a non-functioning device. You want to make sure you're joining the 2.4 gigahertz network. You know, one trick on some smart routers, like it's changed now, but in the early days of the Eero, you couldn't say, I want different names or distinguish them. So the trick I used was you go far enough away from your router, and 5 gigahertz stops. It doesn't go very far. Only the 2.4 gigahertz works. You move your router far away from your device or vice versa, join, and then you can go back closer to it. It won't switch over. But I am puzzled. I am very puzzled to hear that Spectrum does not allow 2.4. I'm guessing that a customer service rep was misinformed. Do you know how to log into your router, George, or have you done that?
I've never tried, but I'll look into it and try that.
It'll have an address. It's your gateway. So it'll have your gateway address, typically 192.168.1.1 or something like that. You'll enter that into your browser. You'll get a login and password. So you'll have to know what the password is. It's probably the default. It might be written on the device, though. Look on the bottom to see. And then you can log in, and then you can see the settings, and you can figure out if the guy was telling you the truth or if they had it but disabled it. I've never heard of any Wi-Fi router that didn't do both.
Oh, okay. Well, I might just end up buying a 2.4 Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way for me.
Yeah, you could do that too. It wouldn't conflict with the other one at all. And boy, if you got a Linksys, you get it for $40, the cheapest ones that just did 2.4. That'd actually be smart, because then your IoT is on a separate network, which is for security reasons not a bad thing.
I'll do that.
That might be the right answer, no matter what. Yeah.
Thank you for your time and help.
Hey, it's a pleasure talking to you, George. Thanks for calling. I can't imagine them disabling the 2.4 gigahertz. My guess is you had a misinformed customer service rep. There's too many devices that don't work on 5. It would be a problem. Jeanette in Southern California is next. Hi, Jeanette. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hey, Jeanette.
Hi,
hey, welcome.
Thank you. I have a question. I purchased a gaming laptop. I spent about $3,000 on it.
Nice.
So I expected it to be...
What games do you play, Jeanette? What are you playing?
Well, I'm getting ready for Pantheon to come out. So I wanted a new system.
How
that
exciting.
could handle it well.
How exciting. What are you playing? What are you playing until Pantheon comes out?
Civ 6 mostly.
Nice.
A little bit of Baldur's Gate.
So you like those real-time strategy games, kind of?
Some of them. It depends. I
Yeah.
kind of play all over the place. I just did a Kickstarter for one called Prim.
Oh, nice.
Kind of an odd little game.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So, yeah, I like gaming.
Yeah. So what's wrong with this beautiful, expensive gaming machine?
Well, it's not super expensive.
$3,000? That's pretty expensive.
Well, and I kind of felt like I would be getting...
Yeah,
it's from
for
the
that
same
price?
company, the one that I'm using right now.
Who did you buy it
The one
from?
I'm using right now, it's from Asus.
Okay.
And I love my Asus Rogue. That
So
I've
it's a Republic of Game.
7 years.
Okay, yeah, the ROGs are great. Yep. Republic of Gamers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the problem I'm having is that it's offloading heat on the right-hand side.
Oh.
And I have limited vision. So even though I have the very big, 17.5-inch screen or whatever it is, I keep I sit pretty close to the screen. So I have my hand up.
You feel heat on the side of your face.
Well, it's not on my face, it's on my wrist.
Oh, even worse.
Right where I use the mouse.
Your mouse wrist.
And so I've been burned a couple times with it. So I did.
Okay,
send it back.
that's definitely wrong. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So something's wrong. Either a fan isn't working, or a number of fans are not working, or they didn't put the proper thermal paste on the CPU. They did something wrong, and I presume they're going to replace it. Yeah.
Not so far. They sent it back to me once already. They changed the screen. They said they fixed something on it, and it was not as hot. And I can play Civ 6 on it fine because it's kind of low end.
That's not the most demanding. Yeah. So this is a laptop.
But if I play Baldur's, yes.
And Baldur's Gate will just heat up too much, huh?
It's no fun. And the last thing that happened was I was in the middle of playing, and the screen just completely went out. So I sent it back yet again.
Yeah. Hey, I have to take a break. We got the Gizmo coming up. Hang on, I'll talk to you off the air. I might have some ideas of things you can do. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I mean, laptops can get hot, but you have an ROG laptop, an older one that is fine. Is that right?
It's working great. It's thank God it's still working.
Did you get the Strikes? Which one did you get? Which one did you get?
I think it's the one you just said.
The Strikes? Yeah.
STRYX, I think.
IX, yeah, Strikes, yeah. And what GPU? Do you know what the GPU is in there?
No, my son picked it all out for me.
He did a nice thing. I mean, that's a very expensive laptop, so I'm thinking you probably got pretty much the top of the line Strikes. Is it how big is the screen?
My intent, it's a 17.3, something like that.
He got you a really nice one.
And my intent is to use it for years.
Yeah.
The other one has laughed at their gaming, and I can still game on it, but it's slow. It's just old, and it doesn't have all the high-end settings. So am I right in thinking this is not okay for it to...
It shouldn't burn you.
On the side?
Yeah, if the case is burning you, that means whatever is generating that heat, whether it's the video card or the CPU, is way hotter than it ought to be. You probably have, and I would look, temperature measurement software in there. And if you don't, there are lots of programs you can download that will tell you, because that thing's loaded with sensors, and it will tell you what's hot. Nothing should be over 100 degrees Celsius. Nothing. If it's burning you, if it's that hot, I'm concerned that something in there is not right, that there's something wrong, because it shouldn't be that hot. No, it'll wear out faster. And on a laptop, it can be warm to the touch. It could even be hot to the touch, but it shouldn't be burning hot.
Right. And mine gets hot. This is the air that's burning me. I'm not even touching the computer. The air do they normally have air coming out on the side now?
Yeah, that's the cool. Well, so it depends where they put the fans and the vents. So, that's the fan blowing hot air out of there.
Yeah.
So the first thing I would do is get something that will let you know what the sensors are reading and see what the sensors are. And by the way, ASUS will somewhere have a list of operating range temperatures. And I bet you if it's that hot, something's operating higher, probably the GPU higher than it should. They may have made a mistake in the thermal paste on the processor, so that it's that might be overheating, but it's most likely the GPU. Maybe the fan on the GPU isn't working. Maybe it's supposed to be that hot. Remember, this thing has a very fast NVIDIA card in it, and it's generating. They do generate a ton of heat. Is it hot when it's just you're browsing the internet?
No, when I'm doing Civ 6, it gets warm, but it's nothing to sneeze over.
Yeah. And the other thing, make sure it's elevated, right? Don't have it. What you don't want to do is do this on a blanket. Keep it. They should have feet on it that are keeping it high, and you might want to get a little stand that keeps it a little bit higher. So maybe.
I bought one.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I have one that actually has fans underneath.
Yeah, active fans, and it plugs into the USB port, and it's still too hot.
Yeah.
Does it shut down ever?
I haven't used that yet.
Use that. That will help.
Went ahead. So I just bought that.
That should make a big difference.
Before I could use it, the screen went black and wouldn't come back on. So we could hook it up to a
it's still under warranty. Monitor. You got to get them to fix this.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's bad.
And my question is then, if it continues to have problems, can I tell them give me a new computer?
Yeah, say you got. This is a lemon. This is a lemon. I don't want it. You can get your money back and buy a Lenovo Legion or something else. Yeah, no, you are protected by consumer laws because it's brand new. Got to run. I'm sorry, but it's time for disco. And when it's time for disco, that can only mean one thing. Ladies and gentlemen, time for the Giz Whiz. Dancing Dickie D. He's Mad Magazine's maddest writer, Dick DeBartolo. Who doesn't know that name? One of the usual gang of idiots at Mad Magazine for many a decade. He's also a Gizmo wizard and joins us every week to talk about his Gizmo of the week. What is your Gizmo this week, Mr. Dickie D?
Oh, well, I have a nifty little charging cable that Amazon calls it the Swiss Army knife of cables. It is a little guy that can do USB to USB-C, USB to Lightning, and micro USB. USB-C to C, USB to dual micro. It's a little guy, and it's magnetic, Leo, so you can open it up, put it on your keychain, and then let it lock close.
I need that on my keychain.
Leo,
so it's not very long. It's a short little cable.
No, it's very short. I mean, when it's charging phone to phone, it's just the whole thing is 5 inches long. But something I've never done is if you have a USB phone with C, you can use that to charge another phone. So for laughs, I took my old Galaxy that is micro USB and my, I have an LG 8, which is USB-C, and I just plugged them in together, and the little lighting indicator on the Galaxy lit up, so I was giving a little bit of juice to the Galaxy. And the thing is, it's $20, $19.99. And when you get it, you have to follow the instructions a little, because when you get it, it looks like, wait a minute, all I got was USB-C to USB-C. And people were complaining that there's no micro USB.
Oh, it's magnetic. Look at that.
Yeah. But, Leo, the thing is, I've only seen this in one other gadget at USB, is the Lightning is also micro USB.
What? So it's an Apple Lightning connector, but it supports the USB-C, that one we hope goes away forever, as well.
Yes, the little micro guy.
So it's A, B, C, and Lightning in one cable. In one cable.
In one cable. Wow. That's magnetic and clips onto your keychain.
I'm buying a couple of those because I know I'll lose it immediately. But that looks really handy.
It's really
What's the name of that?
In Charge 6. And actually, you can follow the link on my website, because some somebody else has renamed it and is charging $31.
Don't get it for $31. Why get it for $31 when you can get it for $19.99?
And if you want gold, for some reason it comes in white, gold, and gray.
But I like the gold. Does the gold cost more? No, same price.
No, it's the same price.
How many should I get? I think I might want many of these. Seriously, this comes up all the time. So one end is not changeable. That's USB-A. Is that right?
That is correct. Correct.
At the other end can be A, B, or C, or no, only which?
Well, let's say both ends change.
Oh, both ends do change.
Yes, because you need to have
USB-C to C if you're going to charge your phone.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Exactly.
So this does it all.
It's pretty neat, isn't it?
That's really cool. I really like that. So so both ends have that magnetic thing, so you can kind of choose whatever you want.
Exactly.
Wow. All right, and $20, but it's that's a useful little doohickey. That's what I call it.
I call it spiffy.
It's a spiffy doohickey.
It's a spiffy.
All right.
Spiffy doohickey. Remember that was a rock group.
No. You're confused. Spiffy Doohickey was Howdy Doody's puppet buddy, wasn't it? Or was it the thing Captain Kangaroo carried around in his pocket?
No, I think it was one of these cables he carried around in his pocket. He was way ahead of his time.
Okay, so Dick has a website, as everybody does these days. Gizwiz.biz, Gizwiz.biz. If you click the big blue button that says the Gizwiz Visits the Tech Guy, you'll see that page and you'll see a link to the InCharge 6, the 6-in-1 Swiss Army knife of cables, portable, keyring compatible with Apple iPhone, USB, USB-C, micro USB cable for all of your devices. That's the full title.
Game.
Now we have to go and find out what that gadget was from What the Heck Is It? So this is the What the Heck Is It contest. There's a brand new picture.
That's the new one.
Yeah.
That's new.
Okay, but only one person got the old one?
Only one person knew.
It was a carrot holder.
Actually, it was something I did on the Gizwiz years ago. Some 14-year-old kid invented it. His father was a chef
It's
and always
brilliant.
cut him himself. Yeah, it's called Tip Tough. And you put your fingers in it, and those little stainless steel fingers at the bottom hold whatever you're slicing.
But it keeps the knife from hitting your fingers.
Exactly.
I wonder if they still sell that, because I could use that, too.
It's on Amazon.
Oh, my God.
It's been up
What
there
is
for
not
like
on
5
Amazon
years.
these days? That's the amazing. So only one kid got it right.
Only one person got it right. So I gave away 17 meds to, things like it was for grooming porcupines.
It looks like a porcupine groomer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So that wins a Mad magazine right there.
Nobody said it would be used by a moil at a bris, I hope. But,
I think I got one of those, but I decided not to
do that. So a brand new close-up. The whole idea here is just a fun little game. You get a close-up picture of a gizmo or a gadget, identify it correctly, and I think this is an electric pizza oven, but I could be wrong. You identify, see, the pizza goes on there, and it goes zzz.
That's a pretty good guess.
Maybe.
A pretty good
I don't
guess.
know.
Yeah.
Identify it correctly. Go ahead.
Yes. I was going to say, and it's the whole item. People keep sending in things like, is this the part of the table that holds the leg onto the top?
It looks like a part. It does look like a part, but no, this is it.
Yeah, but
this was
not.
sold as is.
As it is, exactly.
Okay. Probably still can get it on Amazon, I'm guessing. So there's 6 autographed Mad magazines for the right answer, up to 12 for the cutest, silly answer. But as you can see, Dick is pretty liberal with the autographed Mad magazines. Judges' decisions are final, though. So go on over to gizwiz.biz, play the What the Heck Is It contest. Also pick up your... he's got all sorts of match game memorabilia. He used to be the writer, the guy who saved the match game. He's got Mad Magazine memorabilia. Lots of fun things to do over there, including a link to his Gizmo of the Week, the InCharge 6, which I just bought 6 of. I don't know why, but
You
I did.
bought 6 of.
Well, it says 6. It says buy 6.
Oh yeah,
okay.
okay.
It's called the
That's
insurance.
true.
So you
That's
need
true.
6 of them.
Right.
I only have 1 keychain, but I'll figure out what to do with the rest.
You have to buy 5 more keychains. That's the only answer.
Thank you, Dickie D. He also has a
Okay,
wonderful
buddy.
podcast, GizWiz.tv. Thank you. Take care, Dick.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too. See you next week.
Dick continues, by the way, if you watch, so we have a live video stream of the radio show. It's part of my podcast network. And if you watch that, Dick will reappear in moments. He does something that is not recorded, not preserved. It's a one-time only. It's called the Giz Fizz. And it's a lot of fun. He'll be doing the Giz Fizz. We have come to the end of our show today. I'm sad to say thanks so much to Professor Laura, our musical director. If you like the songs she played, we'll put them on the website. It takes us a day or two to get those up at techguylabs.com. At the very bottom of each episode, there's a link to all the music, all the different songs that Professor Laura played, including the Dua Lipa song, which we didn't get a whole lot of. I'm sorry. We'll get some more of that next week. How about that? Thanks also to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, who's getting you on the air, answering your calls. Thanks mostly, though, to you for listening, for calling. Be a shame if I had to talk nonstop for 3 hours. I don't think I could do it, so I appreciate your help. I'll be back again. I hope you will, too. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Have a safe Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWiT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.